It wasn't paid for by the borough. It was paid for by grants and the folks who built those warehouses. They give us about $1 million a year in taxes.
Is that true?
And the great thing about the warehouses on the Main Street extension, you know, is those trucks quickly go out to 935 and the turnpike.
sorry,
But that's
can
when
we-
the planning board knew something about planning and we put warehouses where they belong. But am I
Can
to
we check
understand
that,
since you,
that previous fact, please, Jim? Can you repeat that
I'm sorry,
about paying for?
the warehouses on the Main Street extension and Kennedy Drive and then maybe Sutton, they
They
pay about
Jay,
1.9 million in taxes, in property taxes every year.
Did they build the road? Is that what you said?
What's that? And none of them got a pilot. Somehow they found it profitable to build and operate. And they did get a, 20 over 5 years. None of them got a pilot. And in addition, they paid for the road. Or a
And Jay,
portion of the
I'm
road
sorry,
that wasn't
Jay,
funded by.
That was the
a
point.
grant.
Jay, did they pay for the road? Do you have any info on that?
No, the borough built
We
it.
paid for the road.
The developer.
No, we did.
No, we got a
The town
grant
did.
and the developer.
No.
Morris Companies built a box culvert and dedicated property. The roadway was constructed
And
by the
in
borough.
addition to them paying for the road, some,
Wait a
They
second.
didn't pay for the
Jay,
road.
you're saying we paid for the road.
Borough hired a contractor to pay for the
Probably
roadway.
costs,
Companies dedicated right of way for the roadway and built a box culvert. But the road.
and were there contributions from the developers?
Developer
There were
dedicated.
contributions
property,
from the
develop-
developers. That's right.
Dedicated property and built a
I'll
culvert.
forward you some information as a courtesy when I get home this evening. Okay? But my real question, and now you can start my 2.5 minutes. Can I assume that at the next meeting, you will be discussing a pilot for the pure self-storage
Well,
units?
we,
You gave the
Yeah.
update.
I gave the update on the pilot and that we requested that it be sent to all of our professionals, including the
I heard that.
financial
That's why I
advisor.
asked my question.
Yeah.
Can we assume,
I don't know if they'll be able to come back with a report by the next meeting, Jim. I don't
Okay.
know that.
because
Okay.
I have to start my social media campaign and that takes time. So that's why. Okay, so we
So
don't,
it's going to go to NW
been forwarded to
Financials
the
in order
So
to
do we-
overview the,
I'm sorry?
it's going to go over to NW, I think is what Mary had recommended to the council.
and-
Oh, Phoenix, it's not NW. Whoa, my mind. What was I
So
thinking? Phoenix.
It might be the next meeting or the meeting after that? Is that,
I don't think it'll make the next meeting. I really
Okay.
don't, but it could be the meeting after that. Jim.
okay, very good. I appreciate that. And I thank you very much for giving me that information. I had asked, Donna, I know you report on almost everything on social media, and I had asked you a couple times, maybe you didn't see it, what had happened, but I ran into Mary and she told me about it. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, anybody else from the public wish to speak at this time? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to close the public portion. Oh, we sure can as soon as we close the public portion. All in favor of closing the public portion? Aye. All right, before we adjourn, Councilman Inoha, you have the floor.
Thank you. I know that majority of our public residents in person are no longer with us live, but just for the record, I know that there were a lot of comments regarding the community center and then also the departure of Councilwoman Jumfor and some other items, but specifically on the community center, I generally want to express, or my understanding of the pain that many of the residents feel, especially from the standpoint of believing or feeling as though their amendments are being stripped. And I want to express to them, at least as an individual, or maybe even on behalf of our borough council, that we appreciate their essence towards community and community impact, and we want to celebrate that, because it is, whether it's their relationship with Boy Scouts or their invitations to many of us. So there is an essence there that I generally want to celebrate, that I notice about those that are connected to the community center. And in addition to that, I generally want them to understand that, our challenge with the center is not their essence for community, just where they choose to center their activities, and it's strictly from a coding standpoint, being that, they do report to myself as, the liaison to planning and zoning. We've seen for a long period of time now, the consistent violations that they've received. And it's not from the religious standpoint, but it's just from the center in which they conduct their activities. And we celebrate the activities, but just where they choose to conduct that operation is a challenge. There are numerous violations. And I believe that our professionals that, for myself, I trust, I believe in, I believe that they have, and I want to express to them, to our professionals, that I do have confidence in them, that they are working to the best of their capabilities, and they have been for over a year, to seeing how they can work with the center to perform up to our standards as a borough from a zoning standpoint. And, to hear on consistent occasions that they've not yet met the requirements that we have as a borough, that's what led us to court. And it's not our anger towards their religion or anger to express, their amendment rights, your amendment rights. So I really want to express to everyone that's connected to that community center, that they're appreciated, and their religious views, as they've mentioned, they believe are needed. And I want to say publicly that I agree. I think one of them even mentioned that they believe they have young rising stars amongst them. And I want to express to them that I agree. And that's why we're doing what we're doing as a borough, so that those rising stars can continue to rise in a safe environment. So, I want to encourage everyone in that community to work with our attorney, to work with our code enforcement, to comply and resolve all the violations. I know that there's an eagerness for it to open up, but unfortunately, safety comes first, even though there are religious obligations that they believe they must meet. And I believe I understand the importance of that. But from a borough standpoint, the safety is number one for us. And it's also to protect ourselves from any potential litigation, because we're aware of the risk involved in the capacity. Even though some of you from the community believe that it's safe, many of you have said on numerous occasions that it's safe. However, from our position, we do trust our professionals. We trust the reports that they've given us for over a year that it's not safe. And we don't want you to believe that our trusting the report is a hatred of your religion. Our trusting the report is our trusting of their professional capacity, which is why we hired them. So please continue to work with them to bring yourself under compliance, so that even when you invite us, we too will also feel safe to be there. So it's strictly from a safety standpoint, it's strictly from a zoning standpoint. I know that it feels uncomfortable, that it has gone to the hands of a judge, and that many of them have expressed that they wish it didn't get that far, but unfortunately it has. And, there's no returning course, because it's already a part of, the judge's system. So, my only recommendation for those that have been asking for solution, the only solution that I know of so far is that you work with our attorney, you work with our zoning enforcement to bring, your status with that facility under compliance to our borough standard. So, but again, I really want to celebrate them for who they are, their viewpoints and how they conduct themselves. Though my only hope now is that they fix the center in which they conduct those operations. And I'm wishing them all the best on that journey. And if they have any questions or concerns, I'll be happy if they contact me directly as the liaison to planning and zoning. I'm eager to work with them in any capacity to see how this can be resolved for them as soon as possible, so they can meet their religious obligations. The second thing, that I noticed that was brought up was, regarding Councilwoman Jumfor's, departure. And, there are many advocacy groups that had some comments. There are many, or at least a few residents that had their responses as well. And I believe as an individual, or maybe even or maybe more of us from a borough standpoint, I just want to express that I also understand the pain coming from some of those perspectives, especially for those who, on the wake of the events, saw the likes of maybe the governor expressing speculation, remarks from even the county prosecutor telling the reporters and many valid reporters as to where they're beginning their investigations, even beyond Sayreville. You know, so to hear those reports on the first day, the second day, and then no other updates after a week, almost 2 weeks now, you know, it's painful. It's painful because there was precedence that speculation and information was going to come forth, and then all of a sudden nothing else. So for those who do feel that pain, that wanted to speak towards that, I just want to express to them that I understand, because it feels funny, it feels very wish-washy. So I understand that perspective, I understand that pain. Hopefully the pain will be no longer, with more communication from those who have it in the law enforcement background. And you know, I think for now we just wait the course. But I just want to express that I understand that pain and those who come from that perspective. And then I think the third comment that was expressed in our last meeting was, I think, regarding to a flag, you know, and some of the past policies we've had or resolutions we had on that. You know, again, my stance back then was that, you know, different groups should come forward. You know, I believe that as a government, we should want to know groups that feel marginalized, you know, and I personally am not afraid of the different groups who come forward with their request, whether it's a flag or anything else. So I'm glad to know that, you know, someone came with the request of a flag on the grounds of religion, you know, and I think it was referred to as Lent or maybe the Christian faith. And, you know, if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just believe that in terms of the religious viewpoints that have been marginalized the most, I think statistically it's the Jewish faith. I think the second might even be Muslim faiths, and then other faiths connected to the India as a country. I may not recall the faiths right now, but I think like Catholicism and Christianity is maybe fourth or fifth, but not even close. So I just don't regard that faith as a marginalized category. And, you know, that's the reason why I believe that such flags are not necessary, because the population in that demographic, I don't believe that they have grounds or statistics to show that they're marginalized or to believe they're marginalized. And therefore, I don't believe that as a borough, we need to take any action on that. But if I'm wrong on my understanding of how the data is so far, you know, I want to encourage those who believe that they are representatives of such a demographic to come forward with data, come forward with facts, educate us so that we can be more aware. But so far, with the knowledge I have now, you know, assuming that flag is a representation of the Catholic community or the Christian community, I just don't believe that that's a population that is marginalized compared to other religious faiths. And that's the reason why I don't believe such flag resolution is necessary for that category. But I want to celebrate them for coming forward to hear their thoughts, hear their viewpoints. I want to reach out to even more folks who believe they're part of demographics that they believe are marginalized to come forward and bring your data, bring your evidence, so that as a government, we can be more aware. So just want to touch on some of those comments I heard today. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Council President. With that,
I have, sorry, ladies. Just one thing that I keep forgetting to mention. Every Tuesday at the Adult Center, we are handing out over 200 meals. And it was very, very popular in spring. It hasn't been that popular, and I really would like, if anybody's still listening or they watch this later on, please tell everybody you know, if they're in need of food or. Yes, but I'm just trying to give it another bump, because we have 200 meals. So please come and get your meals. I'd like to say hello to you. And we move very fast, so it won't take long for you to go. And one other thing, I'd just like to read this into the record. Take me a second. Yeah, this is a borough ordinance that clearly states the mayor shall make appointments to fill a vacancy within 30 days after the appointment becomes vacant. If the mayor fails to nominate or within 30 days, or the council fails to confirm any nomination made by the mayor. And after the expiration of 30 days, the council shall. Read that into the record.
Okay, with that, I will say one last thing. Councilwoman Eunice, June 4. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve with you. And I know you were watching over this evening's meeting. You've been a councilwoman. You remain a councilwoman because you have never left this office. May God keep you and know that we are trying our best to live up to the standard that you put before us. Thank you for your service. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Go in peace.